One-time Clinton administration advisor and operative George Snuffleupagus is sounding the alarm on ABC News regarding Joe Biden. Is he attempting to snuff out the Biden campaign for 2024? Hi, this is Pastor Marty. Thank you so much for watching the Afternoon Drive, where you get my rants, my ravings, and my undeniably flawless reasonings. Hey, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Once you are, smack the bell, click the word all so that you get notification of all of my rants, ravings, and reasonings. And please like and share this video. That's how we get the word out that we're here. Welcome to the Afternoon Drive. The media went into weekend meltdown mode over the newest poll that was put together by the Washington Post and ABC that now shows Donald Trump beating Joe Biden by 10 points. Well, let me say that again. The poll put together by ABC and the Washington Post shows Donald Trump absolutely skewering Joe Biden. Now, there's a couple of observations I would like to make about that, especially since George Stephanopoulos, one-time Clinton advisor and, I'll just say it, hitman. Those of you that are political junkies, if you have ever watched the movie War Room, which shows the behind the scenes of the Clinton campaign when he was first running against George H.W. Bush, and you had guys like James Carville and George Stephanopoulos would work tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure they were out in front of every scandal and not just defending, but deflecting and then immediately going on offense. I mean, they really took political hit jobs to a whole new level at that time. When we have had how many years of every poll somehow going after Donald Trump to try to scare the American people from supporting him, to show that it would be a hopeless cause to support him. Now, all of a sudden, out comes this ABC News poll that shows Donald Trump trouncing him by 10 points. In fact, as we break this poll down, we see that only 25% of the people polled believe that the economy is in great shape. Overwhelmingly, 75% of Americans are dissatisfied with the economy and really do believe Donald Trump would do a far better job in making sure that the economy was brought back on track. Voters under the age of 35. In this poll, Trump is beating Biden in that demographic by 20 points. 20. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, it is a total, complete blowout. And this is the one that really got to me, is that the non-voters, Trump leads Biden among non-voters 63 to 27. 63 to 27. Now, what does that mean? It means that what the Democrats would have to do to pull off an election victory over Donald Trump with Joe Biden on the ticket, they would have to push voter turnout, voter turnout, voter turnout. You know, that whole bit where they're basically, rounding up homeless people and registering them on the bus as they're giving them coffee and free food, vote Biden, vote Biden. In other words, the polling is now showing that among the non-registered or non-voters, they're leaning 63% Trump. So there are not enough force the mass vote, get out the vote, that they overwhelm the polls to overturn the fact that the support is mega for Trump. Biden's being killed on the economy. He's being killed on the border. And he's being killed over the whole age and ability issue. And again, I thought Donald Trump answered that question well recently when he was asked if he thought Joe Biden was too old. He said he's not too old, he's just incompetent. And, of course, he's talking about himself, that, Donald Trump is not, 50 years old. He's in his 70s as well, but he's mentally sharp. Look, I can't stand Fauci. You know that I cannot stand Anthony Fauci. You know I don't like Anthony Fauci. But he's 80, 81 years old, and he interviews well, he's articulate, he has all of his mental cognitive ability working, and he speaks well. He's a lawyer, and he distorts the truth, but Anthony Fauci certainly does not look like an 81-year-old who doesn't know his own name and keeps telling the same stories over and over about being the son of a coal miner from West Virginia who marched for civil rights. All the Joe Biden, malarkey bullhawk. So, but every day you see Joe Biden, it's gaffe after gaffe. He can't remember where he is. He's walking off platforms and shaking hands with people who aren't there. Everybody knows how scripted he is, and even then he can't read the script right, and they know that his handlers are doing everything they can to protect him. Here's where I'm going with all this. The indictments, just about it, I think we can now begin to breathe a little bit and say, this might be the biggest political blunder in all of American politics. The Democrats and the rhinos were counting on these indictments to do what they couldn't do, which was stop the Trump momentum, to get people to back away from Trump, that even if they liked him and wanted to support him, they're thinking, all these indictments, it's just kind of like this never-ending drama with him, and we can't have this. Instead, what it's done is absolutely rallied the base to him. And do you know that Donald Trump, by 2/3, is now winning among non-white voters? People who have been disenfranchised through the years, through the, what do we call it? The legal system. Do you know, of all places, the black community in Atlanta, Georgia, now sees Trump as like this folk hero? They lined the streets when his my mind just literally went blank. When his car procession went to the Fulton County jailhouse where he had to surrender and, have his photo taken. Thousands of black Americans lined the streets to get a shot of, hey, you remember now that there are people within that culture that, the quote, gangsta is a hero. And what they really did in Atlanta was they turned Trump into a gangsta hero. They did. I mean, this is an absolute political nightmare. They did not expect this. And the polling data is showing that the vast majority of Americans, which would include Democrats, the vast majority of Americans really do see this as a political witch hunt. And it is the political witch hunt that never stops. It was Russia, Russia, Russia. It was impeachment number 1. It was impeachment number 2. Joe Biden has taken twice as many documents that Donald Trump ever took, and Donald Trump had the authority as the president to take whatever he wanted. Vice President / Senator Biden had the authority to take nothing. The American people see all of this for what it is. And this is not good news for the Democrats. Now, I know even on the conservative side, there's some conservative pundits trying to make a bunch of hay over the fact that Donald Trump, in his interview on Meet the Press, says he's not pro-life. That was not what he said. What Donald Trump is a political animal who understands that going all in on the overturning of Roe versus Wade in 2020 is what actually hurt the Republicans and stopped the red wave. It was nothing to do with Donald Trump. That was the spin. That was even the spin we got from Mitch McConnell, that because Donald Trump was showing up and endorsing candidates, that was what stopped the red wave. No, what stopped the red wave was when Lindsey Graham said we need a federal law outlawing all abortion. When he did that, that's what riled up the liberal base and the middle of the road base. And there's middle of the roaders within the Republican Party. What Donald Trump is proposing, and when I hear people like Ben Shapiro with that whiny little nasal voice, the little boy who's trying to be a grown-up man talking politics and policy. When I hear Ben Shapiro, and I'm sorry, even like Officer Tatum, when I hear you guys, bad rapping Donald Trump on this one, and he's a sellout, he's going to work with the Democrats on this, and this is not what we as pro-life America. Look, I'm pro-life. I am 100% pro-life. But in the political arena, obviously, I wish that we had never had a Roe v. Wade that legalized abortion. But it's kind of like once that genie is out of the bottle, putting it back in requires some nuance. Now, Trump should have answered that question. Look, what I did with the Supreme Court justices I gave you was do what you have wanted since Roe v. Wade became kind of the unofficial law of the land. You wanted it put back into the hands of the states. You wanted this to be a states' rights issue. That is what I did. That is what I delivered you with two of my Supreme Court nominees. I made sure that this went back to states' rights. And that's the only answer he needed to give right there. When he gets pressed about, would you support a national ban? Yes. The Ben Shapiros, who's really just a rhino, the Ben Shapiros, want him to say, absolutely, I would sign that. That would be the death knell to the Republican 2024 election hopes. It would be. It'd be all over. So what Donald Trump is proposing isn't anything that we didn't already have under a George Bush or a Ronald Reagan, which is, after X weeks, no abortion. And he can sway the American people on this fanatical concept that the rabid Democrats, the far left progressive wingnuts that want, abortion right up to the moment of birth, and even in California, 21 days after, Donald Trump can paint that really clearly as genocide and as just maniac policy. And he'll win on that. He'll win on that. So, and again, these other guys, they haven't figured out that Donald Trump he's not in primary campaign mode right now. He's in national campaign mode. The primary, he's got it. He's got it. And again, you can thank Joe Biden. You can thank his Merrick Garland Justice Department and these never-ending indictments. This has been a political blunder. And the proof in all of this is this ABC poll. Not what the poll shows, but the fact that George Snuffleupagus let the results out. Again, make no mistake, George Stephanopoulos is not a political lightweight on any level. He got Clinton the White House. His political instincts are they're spot on. You don't have to like his policies, and I don't. But this guy understands the game, and he allowed this poll to go forward at ABC and the results to go public because he is quietly warning the Democrat establishment, you've got to get rid of the guy at the top of the ticket. You've got to get rid of the guy at the top of the ticket. In other words, Biden got to go. Now, once that's established, Kamala is gone as well because she polls even worse than Joe Biden does. And that's the whole reason he picked her. I want a woman of color. No, you wanted a woman that couldn't beat you or be a threat to your job. And that was your life insurance policy. Nobody was going to take you out because nobody wanted there to be a President Harris. But now you've got Stephanopoulos, i.e. the Clintons, telling the Democratic Party leadership, Joe has got to go. Now, who will it be? Who will the replacement be? Will it be Gavin Newsom? Well, some people will try for that. Some people will still wet dream for a Bernie Sanders. Some people are really hoping that Michelle Obama gets in. And I personally don't see that happening. But, I never say never. But I'm going to say something, and some of you are going to get shocked. I'm not saying it's going to go anywhere, but don't rule out Hillary. Don't rule out Hillary. You know, everybody's saying, "Oh, we don't want a Biden-Trump rematch." What about a Trump-Hillary rematch? Don't rule her out. Don't rule her out. Now, I don't think it'll go anywhere, but again, Stephanopoulos he's Clinton, people. And the Clintons still don't like the Obamas. And the Obamas have been running the Biden administration. Make no mistake about it. Everything that you see Puppet Joe doing, he is simply enacting the Obama administration term 3. That's what this entire meltdown of our economy has been. You know, and the Democrats are getting a clear signal from this ABC poll that the economy is not going to magically turn around in time. That there is a serious border crisis, that even Democrats are openly talking about close the border, close the border, close the border. There are liberals in the media talking about close the border, close the border, close the border. When you have progressives like a Jimmy Dore talking about we need to close the border, it's over. And, you know, Joe Biden's wet dream fantasy of constantly funding this proxy war with Russia through Ukraine, and now people are beginning to put all the pieces together that all the grift the Biden family received from Ukraine through Hunter, and now this is the payback to just keep giving them billions on top of billions on top of billions, and the American people have said, time out, we are tired of funding this war in Ukraine. And they're saber rattling with China now. Which, by the way, that will make Governor Kemp in Georgia upset because he's a Chino. What's a Chino? Well, you know what a rhino is. That's a Democrat dressed in Republican drag. Well, Kemp is not a rhino. He's a Chino. He has been bought and paid for by China. China runs Georgia. Donald Trump is clearly the people's choice. And George Stephanopoulos allowed this ABC News poll to go forward and then go public because he is trying to shake the Democratic leadership to say, the ship is going down, it's going down hard. If you stand any chance at all of turning this thing around, because you can't have a big enough turnout to skew the polls back in the Democrats' favor. We've lost on all those fronts. You are going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. You aren't going to be able to manipulate this one. That Joe Biden and his policies are so hugely unpopular that you've got Democrats defecting, you have the youth vote defecting, you have the black vote defecting, you have the Hispanic vote defecting. The only way you can turn it around, you got to do it the old-fashioned way. You got to find a very charismatic candidate that could pull some of these people back away from Trump. And all I say to that, good luck.